the Connecticut Sun parted ways with Stephanie White, two-time.
Through the money, designer the drip. Don't got a cap, I'm as real as it get. Bet on myself and I tripled the flip. Came from the streets, I'ma stick to the script. We popping bottles like we win a trip. Rather fill up accounts than empty a clip. 10 on the ground, so I never slip. They love you, they hate you, I'm watching them switch. Switch, 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 switch. They hate you, they love you, I'm watching them switch. Switch.
You see what it is. It's the Be Yourself podcast. It's your boy, Kenzo the Great. And so, a little Kenzo's Corner. You can also consider it, why you should be watching it, whichever way you really want to look at it. But we're going to get into the WNBA, you feel me? And all these recent coach firings and whatnot. First of all, shout out to Liberty. First, their first chip, A little controversial way to get there, but we ain't really got to talk about it. That's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about other kind of controversial. Not controversial, not too many. There's a couple of iffies, but we're going to talk about the 7 coaches and 3 GMs. I bet you some of y'all don't even know GMs is getting fired. But yeah, the WNBA over there going crazy before the new season about to start. Well, season just ended. And I might even do a video on the Unrivaled League. That's 3-on-3. It'll be going down, I believe it starts in January. I got to double check that. I do know it's going to be here at the crib, Miami. So I might even see if I go to some games depending on what it's looking like. But let's get into these coaches. These aren't any particular order. This is just how I flowed with it. At first, I thought about trying to do it in a chronological, but then the way stuff happened and how it flowed, it just didn't work out for me. But starting off, the Connecticut Sun parted ways with Stephanie White, two-time, head coach of the year, 2023. They had winning record both times. They lost in the second round of playoff both times, 2023, 2024. They were 27-13 when she won Coach of the Year in 23, and then they were 28-12. Better record, but she was a newcomer the first time, so that kind of, I guess, gave her a little that push. And they lost in the second round, like I said, of the playoffs both times. Moving on from there, I am gonna try to make this distinction. Some of these are parted ways, some of these are fired. I'm gonna say it the way they said it. I'm also gonna give my opinion. For example, the Sparks, Los Angeles Sparks, in case you don't know, we're gonna make sure this is a cover-all video. Parted ways, that's how they actually put it, with Kurt Miller. But I'm going to be calling it fired because he went 8-32 in 2024 and 25-55 over the 2 seasons, and he missed the playoff both times. That sounds like a firing to me. But I mean, if they want to call it part ways, by all means, go ahead. No offense intended, Mr. Miller. You might still get a job. I'm not taking your name out the running. We'll get into that later, though. My Chicago Sky, in case you ain't know, that is my team. I am a Sky fan before Angel Reese, but she definitely helps out. You feel me? To my appeal personally. So Chicago Sky. I mean, with the WNBA, I've moved teams a couple times. There's no real loyalty. I'll admit that. It's purely for vibes. I kind of like the team when they made that run to the chip. I've liked them since, I believe that was 2020 or 2019. I don't remember. So I've been rocking with them for a little minute. But I mean, the Ace is cool. Again, there's only so many teams, and we got new teams coming. And if Miami get a team, obviously I'm gonna abandon ship for Miami because the crib always come first. But again, my Chicago Sky on September 26th fired Teresa Witherspoon after she failed to make the playoffs. There was some, obviously Angel Reese posted about it, and there was some backlash because people didn't like how she put it, whatever. That's again not what we're here for. They were rumored to be pursuing Stephanie White ahead of the Sun actually announcing they were going to part ways with her. And they were batting it out with the fever for Stephanie White, but we've already found out right before I did this video, actually. I wasn't planning to add it, but I actually going to add that later on. We're going to talk about Stephanie White in detail a little bit because she's been hired by the Fever, who parted ways with Christy Sides. That's the 4th team, by the way, the Fever, who did make the playoffs, appeared to work really well with Caitlin Clark down the stretch. They started kind of rough, I'm not going to lie, but down the stretch, she had Caitlin going, she had the team going pretty decent. So I do think she's also going to get another chance, but again, we'll get into that later. Again, we're going to get into the Stephanie White later. The Atlanta Dream, that's our 5th team, parted ways with Tanisha Wright. They went to back-to-back playoffs, so I'm not really sure what's going on there. I did see some rumors that their GM might also be in the hot seat. I couldn't confirm that, so I'm just going to leave that out there. So maybe that's why it was just the first step. We're going to see. Maybe if he hires a good coach coming up, his job is safe. If the next coach ain't kicking it, he's probably gone too. But it's kind of strange because, again, like I said, back-to-back playoffs, obviously they didn't have a great season this year, I will say. But again, back-to-back playoffs, how do you fire a coach from there? Again, we'll see who they hire after. the Dallas Wings, after 2 seasons with Latricia Tramwell, parted ways with her. She had a 31-49 record over those 2 seasons. She went 2-3 in the playoffs. I believe that's just this last playoffs. I don't know if they made it the year before that. I gotta double check. I'm not a Wings fan. They do have some nice players, I will say. She was let go October 18th. And finally, the last coach we have here is the Mystics coach, Eric Thibault. I believe that's how you pronounce it, was let go, as well as his father, Michael Thibault, who was actually the coach before him, retired, and he retired from coaching and became the GM. So they've both been let go by the president of Monumental Basketball, who they're involved with both the Mystics and the Washington Wizards. I'm not sure how the ownership exactly works out, but the president let them go because they had disagreements on the path moving forward the Mystics would be going. So I'm not sure if they didn't know who they're going to draft coming up, exactly what the problem is. But again, part of ways because of that, and we'll see what happens going forward. So now we'll get to these GMs because we kind of already got into these GMs with the Mystics GM. So I don't have to get into that again. That's one GM out of 3 down. The Fever GM, Lynn Dunn, will be moving into a new position, senior advisor to the team, which to me, advisor from GM sounds like a demotion. Maybe she want to do part-time. Maybe there's some mutual stuff going on that I don't know about, but it sounds like a demotion. We'll see going forward. So they actually hired, we'll see her relationship with the newly hired COO/GM, Amber Cox. Well, I'll give you a little bit of detail on Amber Cox in a second, but see the Fever, again, they know they got that marquee star, they got Caitlin Clark, the new coach, Stephanie White, we'll get into her, new GM, they making the playoffs wasn't enough. So, and they see there's new teams coming on the horizon, they don't want to be left behind, because who knows what that expansion draft is going to do to their team, or all teams, really. That's actually something we could get into another time. That might be a video, who knows. Amber Cox spent time with various WNBA franchises, including the Mercury, the Sun, and the Wings. The Wings was her most recent stop. She was the COO, and she led the day-to-day operations and ticket sales, partnerships, and marketing, amongst other things, for the past 3 years. Before she was with them, she was the vice president of sports for the Sun, and she was involved with the team for their 2 championships, 2007, 2009. So she got some championship pedigree. Fever wants some of that, so they went and got her, clear as day. And to me, probably the kind of shocking out of the GMs, at least. I mean, I don't really pay attention to GMs in basketball too much. It's more of a football thing for me personally. But if we're going to talk about a GM being fired or let go, that was kind of shocking. It's definitely the Aces letting go, not renewing or not extending, which I'm not really sure which day. I saw both wordings out there. But let's say cut ties with Natalie Williams. So she was hired in 2022. At the same time, they hired Becky Hammond. They all came in together, but they just announced they would not be renewing her contract because they're restructuring their front office, whatever that could possibly mean. So again, the Aces, cool team. They got the MVP, Asia Wilson, a dog, bam, done. So those are the GMs. We're going to get into what I think is going to be coming up next. So the Sky have been in conversations with Kurt Miller of the Sparks and Latricia Tramwell, formerly of the Wings. I just went over both of their records. And obviously, I said earlier they were also in talks about Stephanie White, but they lost out to the Fever because if we're going to get into that, but she was previously on the Fever, so I'm not surprised she went back to home, so to speak. Of those 2 options, again, I'm a Sky fan, so I'm going to get into it a little bit for the Sky in particular. I don't really have any particular, I don't have no insight. I'm just saying of the options I could think of, not including college, Tramwell is probably the better fit out of Kurt Miller and Tramwell because she's a player coach, which would be good for Kennedy Carter and Angel Reese and stuff like. And she's previously worked with teams that don't have the highest budget, which the Chicago Sky. They're not breaking the bank out of the WNBA teams, in case you ain't know. Another out of the blue option, just me again, Louis Vuitton Dawn out of UConn. Worked with injuries. Well, not with injuries before, but worked with some stars before. Has talked about wanting to work with injuries. I can see that happening. Again, I like Louis Vuitton Dawn. So it's, again, personal choice. But I don't know if the Sky, we just talked about the Sky not spending too much money. I don't know if they're finna, pay the price that you got to get her out of school she at, plus pay her on top of that. So again, just me, pure speculation. Nothing, no connections. Chrissy Sides. Again, like I said earlier, she should probably get another chance because, they basically moved on for a better coach, but not because she did a particularly bad job. She made the playoffs with a team that was not too good the year before. So I could see her going with, the Sparks, for example, because still working with, younger stars, but it'd be, Rickea Jackson and Cameron Rink this time. The other people from 2 of the other stars from that last year's class, that is just, they just infused the WNBA with so much star talent at once. Personally, I believe Tanisha Wright should also get another crack at it, like I said earlier, possibly with the Mystics, because I think she would gel nicely with that squad. Again, personal opinion. I don't know, again, too much about the Mystics. They did not have a great season, but I don't, again, we don't know what that going forward issue that they talked about that they had with the previous regime actually was. So hopefully that's not a problem for her, but we don't know. So moving on, not the main point, but the big topic moving on, since it came in like literally right when I was deciding to do this video about the coaches being fired and stuff. The first hire of this offseason. Well, maybe not technically the first hire, because we also know that the Golden State Valkyrie? Well, not starting this season, but starting next season. They've actually already hired their coach. It was Becky Hammon's assistant. What was her name? I forgot. Yeah, Natalie Nakase. And obviously the other two expansion teams as well, Toronto and Portland, they should be hiring soon too. So look for that on the horizon. But getting back to the hire we've already had, the main hire of the hour, so to speak. Stephanie White, formerly of the Fever, about to be of the Fever again. This is her second stint. Her first stint with the Fever, she led the Fever to their second WNBA Finals appearance ever. They lost to Minnesota, best of 5 at the time. We're going to be moving to best of 7 in the finals this next year coming up, I believe, just as a note. She's also an Indiana. Okay, before we get to that, actually. Losing to Minnesota, right? They were 20-14 that year in her debut season. So I believe that doesn't sound like a full amount of games. Yes, actually, no, that's the full 34. I'm tripping. So yeah, 34 games. She went 20-14 that first season, went to the finals, lost to Minnesota. Following season, 17-17. Not too good, but it was enough to make the playoffs. Lost in the first round to the Mercury. Diana Taurasi's Mercury, I believe. Yeah. That was 2015. 2016, she got a high coaching job with Vanderbilt. She was there from 2016 to 2021. Don't really have to get into her record too much. It wasn't great, let's be honest. But then, after some time off, she was doing some podcasting, some other stuff. 2023, she was with the Suns. Again, like I said, coach earlier when I said with the firings, coach of the year in 2023, and in 2024 also had a winning record, but again lost in the second round of playoffs both times. So I guess they decided to part ways. And now we're going to talk about why this is a good fit for Indiana, why this is really cool. Again, we're not going to act like we don't know. Caitlin Clark, big deal. Fever, by extension, big deal. In the 20 years that Ms. White has been coaching, she's grown a lot. Now, again, I'm not no expert or nothing, but you could literally see from her first stint with the Fever to her last stint with the Sun, it's a decent change. So I think she fits this new Fever better than she fit the Fever when she was there coaching before. Funny enough, she was a key part of the assistant for the WNBA title. She previously worked with Kelly. I'm gonna say this so bad. Kelly Krauskopf. That's the woman who's coming back to the Fever as well. She's going to be coming as the president. So she's previously worked with the new president. There's a lot. See, again, Fever making moves. They again. And as a broadcast analyst for college basketball, she actually called some of Caitlin Clark's Iowa games, and she, so she knows her decently enough, I guess, because you got to scout to do those games, the play-by-plays and whatnot. Also, why she's probably a good fit. Stephanie White is an Indiana basketball legend, so she similar to Caitlin Clark, the new Indiana basketball legend, even though she's from Iowa, but she's playing in Indiana now. Say that fast. But yeah, Stephanie White played high school basketball in Indiana in the 90s. She played at Purdue, and then she played 5 WNBA seasons, 4 of which were for the Fever, and then she got into basketball coaching at Ball State again in Indiana. So I think it's a good fit. There's not really much else to add, really. So yeah, they go to 7 coaches, fired / let go, the 3 GMs, the 1 coach hired / future coach, because again, Golden State hired, but they're not starting the season. So it's gonna be a record when we start with 7 new head coaches. So it's gonna be crazy. 2025 around the corner. Like I said, Unrivaled. We're gonna see if we're gonna be able to go to the game, see if we could look into what the details. All I know about Unrivaled right now is 3-on-3 basketball. The players have equity. They've announced a bunch of the stars, not all of them. They're waiting to see if Caitlin Clark possibly might play. I don't know if she has responded. I don't know if they're waiting she to be the last person, because I believe it's 36 people gonna be total. They've unveiled, I believe, 31. again, when the whole 36 drop, I might just go through the teams and talk about it. Again, not sure yet. I'm gonna try again. I'm gonna try to go to games. Not sure yet. Don't know how much it's gonna cost. Where they're gonna be at. It might be out of my way. Yeah. So that's everything for today. I'm gonna probably do a video on the Lakers and JJ Redick. It's a little too soon for me. You know, Chance always want to talk about his Lakers. Not surprised. But this has been WNBA. Did I almost say WWE? Just check out that channel too. We do have that. You know, the behind curtain podcast is the Be Yourself podcast. Be yourself.
After the money, designer the drip. Don't got a cap, I'm as real as it get. Bet on myself.